to make firm establish. So my guests and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And also, I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Sarah Ross. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live at a later date, as it means a lot to me to connect with my like-minded women. Now, if you've never met before, then my name is Rae, and I love to help women to crossroads in their life, heal their past, create their future, and transform their present, so they can take charge of their destiny in the here and now. I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy, and I use future life progression, past life regression, angelic Reiki, guided meditation, angel oracle cards, and hypnosis to help women who feel lost get clear on their reason for being here. And I've also created several transformational packages, a journey through lifetimes, as well as a 6-week guided meditation series to help you take charge of your destiny and take yourself into self-confidence. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or angel card reading with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Sarah Ross, about how we can burn out free. Now, Sarah is an international award-winning speaker and best-selling author who uses her own experiences with burnout and depression to help others avoid the dark place that she found herself in when she left the corporate world. She founded Your Reason to Breathe as a way to show those burning out at work that there are steps that they can take to help turn the dark and depressing into an empowered and fulfilling life. Now, whilst volunteering at an orphanage for disabled children in Vietnam, Sarah found not only her reason to breathe, but a wealth of business and life lessons in the everyday activities of the children at a state-run care facility. She attributes her own recovery from burnout to learning how to prioritize herself over work, and that smiling and laughter were powerful remedies to fight the negative of burning out. Now, her unique experiences whilst volunteering give her valuable insights into resilient leadership and team dynamics that all organisations can benefit from. Sarah now works with corporate executives and their teams to help them strengthen their own resilience and thrive by using the power of Your Reason to Breathe, whilst empowering those teams to be self-supporting so that everyone becomes the best version of themselves, whilst achieving great things for the organisation. Now, having spent over 16 years in compliance, ethics, and process improvement, Sarah combines the wealth of business experience with the unique business lessons she learned through volunteering, her recovering from burnout to help businesses retain and support in their top talent while still delivering the bottom line. Now, Sarah has an LLB in English and German law from the University of Liverpool and is a chartered accountant with the Institute of Chartered Accountancy. She has worked in a variety of industries and to date has covered more than 100 countries. She is currently based in Oxford, UK, but travels internationally to speak and consult with her clients. And as she says, trust your journey, don't forget to breathe. Now, with testimonials such as Sarah has been there, she knows the path not only back out again, but how to never visit the place again. She's powerfully empathic, and I couldn't recommend her highly enough. And Sarah Ross is a rare, loving, heart-centered, compassionate soul who always knows exactly what to do to guide you through a breakthrough. Thank you, Sarah. So without further delay, hello, Sarah, and welcome to Angels Destiny Show. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Rae. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you, those of you watching, that not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments and thoughts, as both Sarah and I want to be part of this conversation, so please do not be shy. So Sarah, why don't you tell us more about your journey and how we can be burnout free?
Well, the first thing I would say is, if you don't know whether you're burning out or you don't know you're burnt out, that can sometimes be the first issue. And I'll say for mine, that was exactly it. I thought I was tired, I was stressed, I had a very, very long to-do list that never got any shorter, but I wouldn't necessarily have used the term burnout. It was, you heard it talked about in sort of the corporate world, but I never would have said, I'm burnt out, I need help. In fact, asking for help was my biggest fear. To have to admit that you couldn't do it or you were struggling, it's just like, no, I can't go there. I need everyone to think that everything is fine. But actually, when I finally got to that point where, I was at rock bottom. I really was. I couldn't keep going on. I was having migraines 25 days a month. Um, and that had built up over years. So you don't burn out overnight. You might have a stressful day, you know, but you do not burn out overnight. This takes months, sometimes even years, to get to that point of absolute burnout. And for me, it was probably 3.5 years. And my body, spirit, source, angels had been giving me signs throughout that period. Whether it was numbers that I would keep seeing, flight numbers that would always be the same, flight times that always seem to be a little bit random. You know, every other flight time is taking off on 0 or 5, and mine was at, 22. And you're like, okay. But I knew nothing of that. Some numbers would stand out to me, others wouldn't. And other things, I got up one morning, I was in, where was I? Guatemala. And I opened my curtains, and out of the window was a volcano. Now, not close. I mean, let's put this in perspective. It was in the distance. But I'd already been there for 3 days. I'd opened the curtains before. I'd never seen a volcano. Because the clouds were in, the mists were in. And that day, the person that I was actually there working with said, right, that's it. Let's take the afternoon off. She said, I need you to see something other than this office. And she actually took me to the village at the bottom of that volcano. I would not have asked to go, but I was guided to go to this place. We were actually there just before Easter. So this village was all set up for Easter, different colours and flowers and everything. But that was the time that, I think that was probably the first time that I actually stopped and went, what am I doing? All this traveling. I mean, I had the Instagram life. My Instagram was, oh, look, I'm in business class again. I'm at the airport. I'm flying somewhere else. But to my body, it was like, which time zone are we in? How much sleep have we not had? What are we eating today out of a plastic container at 35,000 feet that you didn't choose to eat, even though you really wanted something healthy? You've still got chicken pasta and, noodles.
Yeah.
And those were all the things that happened and kept happening. So I gave up my dream job to support my partner who was stressed and burnt out, not realizing that I was in a similar situation. But I took a desk job with no travel to support him. And actually, it was the travel and the different cultures that were keeping me from burning out.
Gotcha.
So once I start taking this desk job now, my partner then left me about 4 months later. So now I'm in a job that I don't want to be in. I'm grieving a relationship that had finished, and my health starts to suffer, and these migraines get worse and worse, to the point where I decided on my 37th birthday that I didn't want to see my 38th.
Oh.
I had just taken a severance package from a redundancy package from work. And I really was, I'm useless. I've lost my job. I can't even go to the office enough to keep a job because I'm getting these headaches. My body's falling apart. What's the point? I don't want to be in this pain anymore. And so I put a plan in place, which was 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, I would take my own life. Because there were people I wanted to say goodbye to. There were places I still wanted to go. And there were things I still wanted to experience. And yeah, I had a bucket list. And I also had a redundancy package. So, you know what? I'm going to go and do some of these things. Now, nobody was going to know that that's what I was doing. And that's why I was doing it. I even put things in place for people to think that I was planning long into the future, like building a website. My first website was built during those 6 months, with a launch date which would have been a month after I'd passed. But one of the things on my bucket list had been to go and volunteer. And I had been torn between where to go. And in my head was, I want to go and build a school in Nepal. And when I came to fill in the form, Nepal was off limits because it was monsoon season. And so I ended up in Vietnam, a country that I had looked after in my job, but that I'd never seen outside of the city. And yet I knew that's where I was supposed to go. And I ended up in a Vietnamese orphanage, state run facility, about 35 miles outside of Hanoi, in the middle of the jungle, surrounded by paddy fields and little villages, with 180 disabled children who, because of their beliefs, have either been abandoned because they're disabled,
Yeah.
or families can't look after them because they need medication. Or, and the sad part of it is, if somebody stays home to look after them, that person is not planting rice in the field.
Ah.
So it's that's a real struggle for people to have to, make that decision. And I ended up in this room of 20 children, blind, deaf, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, Down syndrome, a complete rainbow of, children. That's how I see them. And they are not any of the lists that were on the cards we had about them. And I spent most of my days sharpening pencils, painting nails, colouring in, playing catch, making Lego towers, destroying Lego towers, and in my case, falling over quite a lot, which just made the children laugh.
Yeah.
And there was an energy around this place that just let me stop. I was as far away from my Western life as I could possibly be. We didn't always have hot water. We didn't always have electricity. Wi-Fi was a luxury. And it was exactly the reset I needed, because I was so far removed from what I would do of an evening at home. We would go and eat, rice and vegetables, or we would go and have very simple dishes cooked in the village for us. And all of it just started my brain to stop stressing, because I didn't have those same fears. I couldn't fail at sharpening pencils. I couldn't fail at painting nails. Well, that's dubious.
It's for most of us.
There's some pretty funky designs, that's all I'll say. But I could make those children smile. I could still hug them. I could give them what they didn't get elsewhere, and felt that, for those last few months, I could give as much love as I had. That I was still capable of doing, and that was worthwhile. And so I decided that if it was going to be my final Christmas, because the period I was there was November to February, if it was going to be my final Christmas, then I was going to be Santa Claus. And I was going to be Santa Claus in a country that doesn't celebrate Christmas. It doesn't really know who Santa Claus is, but I was going to do the whole thing, including presents for 180 children. And I went to the market in Hanoi one weekend. Now, I'm 5'10" and I've got a few curves, and I couldn't buy shorts and a t-shirt in that market. And yet I found a whole Santa costume that was like it was made for me. And we're talking every little accoutrement that Santa would have wanted.
Wow.
I had a belt, I had a wig, I had a beard, I had some gloves, I had a lovely jacket, lovely red trousers, the whole lot. And it all fitted me perfectly.
Wow.
You're like, okay, I'm obviously supposed to do this. And I spent Christmas Day hugging the 180 children, having my beard pulled, laughing, smiling. I spent my whole day happy. And it wasn't anything more than that. Didn't have to do anything more than that. There were a lot of photos taken. There were a lot of children didn't realise it was me until we pulled the beard and took the wig off. But there was just a sense of peace that came that day. And towards the end of the day, they said to us that one of the little girls was not going to make it. She was dying. And if we wanted to say our goodbyes, then we should do it before we left for the evening. At that point, I had never, ever been into the room that she lived in. I didn't know the little girl. And yet, something guided me to that room that day. It was like walking into, a different world. I mean, the room was practically the same as the one I worked in every day. But she was lying in a crib that she shared with 4 other children. And I leant over, and I'm still dressed as Santa. And she put her hand in my beard. And she and I breathed together. And in that split second, there was the realization that she had a couple of hours left, and she was still fighting for every single breath. A little girl who was considered worthless because she was disabled and sick. Family had abandoned her. She would never have been educated, and she would never have seen outside of that orphanage. And yet, in comparison, I had everything. And yet I was planning to give up. I wasn't willing to fight as hard as she was. And in that moment, we probably breathed together for, I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes tops. But she gave me a gift that day of a reason to breathe. Because as I left that room, it's like, well, what if this journey of mine was so that somebody else didn't have to take the same journey? And that became my reason to breathe. And I had no idea what to do next. I walked home, back to the guest house we stayed in, de-santified myself. And I was like, you know what? What do I do now? Because even Einstein says the thinking that created the problem can't solve the problem.
No.
Well, I had created my burnout, my thinking, because I listened to all that inner chatter. The fear of disappointing my parents, the fear of not being successful, the fear of failing at my job. These were all my beliefs that I wasn't willing to entertain any other thought. I'm sick, I have a migraine. Well, then I failed my job because I'm not at my work today. And I didn't see a different way of thinking about it. And when I got back to my room that night, there was one business card in my wallet, and there was one book on my table. And the book was called Stop Acting and Start Living. And the card was from the guy who had written the book, who I had met 4 months earlier whilst on a trip to LA. And I'd met him at a speaker conference, at a speaker training, to become a more authentic speaker. Now, I was a corporate trainer, so I was suited and booted, delivered a presentation that you didn't see me on stage. It was just this. I could have been a holograph.
Yeah.
Because it was the same presentation every single week. I could laugh at the jokes before I told them, but that was it. And he freaked me out. He is empathic. He works with energy. He's very intuitive, and he scared me because I believed I was hiding what I was planning and how I was feeling from everybody. And a couple of comments that he made me believe that maybe I wasn't, and maybe everybody could see what was going on. And when I left that event, somebody said to me, are you going to work with Bernie one-to-one? And I remember saying, no, I will never be in the same room as that man again. And yet on the day that I needed help, his was the only business card I had in my wallet and the only book I had. And he had written inside the book, the bigger the dream, the better the life. And so I emailed him. First time I'd ever really asked for help with anything. I didn't tell him what I'd been planning, and I didn't tell him how bad things were. I just asked if he would help me. And he said yes. And I worked with him for 18 months. He's an acting coach. So he was as far removed from the corporate world
Yeah.
as he could possibly have been. But he taught me how to dream. He taught me how to be happy. He taught me how to dream. And he taught me how to make myself a priority again. All the things that I now teach my clients in my programs, because our bodies, and especially what's up here, are already designed to manage stress and for us to have a good life. But they work in one of two ways. They're happy or they're stressed. And we have the ingredients for both. It's like having cake and going, oh, well, I'll have a vanilla cake or I'll have a chocolate cake. And vanilla cake is happy cake and chocolate cake is stress cake. Well, it is for me because I'm allergic to chocolate. I agree there may be people listening for whom chocolate cake would be a happy cake.
Vanilla,
Yeah, there you go. So for anyone who's watching afterwards, whichever is your happy cake, it's all good. But your body can't do both. You cannot be happy and stressed at the same time. So if you can give your body a chance to be happy, joyful, relaxed, it stops the stress cycle and allows the body to reset, even if it's just for 30 seconds. And that's what being burnout free is all about. Allowing your body to do what it's supposed to do, what it's built to do, by stopping the stress using really simple things.
Absolutely. I mean, that is such an amazing journey and story, and and thank you for sharing it. It's the fact you have shared it is so brilliant, and just shows a long way that you've come from or not asking for help. And Pamela has said, it's an excellent topic. So many are challenged with this and keep it a secret because they're afraid to admit they need assistance. Never be afraid to ask for help. And I think it's the way we're brought. It's this culture that we're in, isn't it? That we're brought up not to really ask for help.
I think we're brought up not to ask for help, that asking for help is weak. But we're also conditioned that asking for help is failure, or asking for help will hurt the people who love us the most. Now, I had never planned to tell my story. It was going to go into the vault in the back of my head and it was never going to come out. And I was going to get coaching and I was going to heal, but I didn't expect to ever tell that story. And it came out by itself one day in one of the classes that I was in. Never planned to tell it. In fact, the question I think we were asked was, what did you learn this week? Well, that story you've just listened to is not the answer to the question, what did you learn this week?
No.
But it came out, and immediately afterwards, 2 other people then stood up and admitted to needing help. And that's when for them, they knew they weren't alone, so they could ask for the help. For me, was the power of my story was that maybe other people would then ask for help and get it. And I think when I then became comfortable telling it, that first telling of that story was floods of tears and very, very messy.
Yeah.
Very messy crying. But as I healed through the story, you can tell who in the room is picking up on it. You can tell who needs you afterwards to say, do you want to have a chat? And I've told the story and had those conversations, and it's something completely unrelated, but because somebody just feels that they've been heard, or we all know it. We go to conferences and there'll be half the speakers. You go, oh, I don't know why I'm at this conference. And then there'll be one.
Yeah.
And it might be one line that they say, it might be their whole presentation, but you know that you were in the room to listen to that person. And that for me was what telling the story became about, was to let people know it's okay to ask for help. Now, it was probably about 2 years into the journey until I actually told my family and friends and sat down with all of them and had conversations. And every single person that I told it to, my friends, said, if you had phoned, I would have been with you in 5 minutes.
Mm.
I would have, no matter what I was doing, I would have been with you in 5 minutes. Or those that aren't in the same country, I was on the end of the phone and I would have sat there for hours if that's what you needed. My family were the same. You know,
Yeah.
we actually went through losing my cousin to a car accident, and I listened to my mum sob down the phone. He was taken too young, he still had so much to do. And at that moment realised what the sobbing would have been like if I had gone through with my plan. Now, this was only a couple of years later. And you realise we assume people will be hurt or judge us, but actually they just want to be there for you. And whether it is your family, close friends, or whether you just go to a helpline, speak to somebody, because that's the start of the healing process. It's the start of telling our bodies that we're safe, and our bodies can only heal once it knows it's safe and that it can stop pumping it with cortisol and adrenaline, and having those stress responses. But sometimes just picking up the phone and saying, I need to talk. And suddenly the brain goes, you know what, we're safe. We're talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes even just talking to trees or plants or your pet,
Yeah,
it's just getting you into that telling of letting that emotions, those things out. They're good. When I had my cat here, God, she listened to some stuff from me. Trees listen, because I love my
yeah,
trees, and that, have amazing conversation with trees. God, what they know about me is unbelievable. Um, but I always feel so much better afterwards because I've just shared it.
yeah. And it's that, so whatever our grandparents would say, a problem shared is a problem halved. Well, maybe
Yeah,
it is. Maybe it's not quite halved. But once you've shared it, there's somebody else that can maybe offer a solution, because you've shared it and it's no longer this big black dark secret that you're holding in your head. You might be able to think about it differently. You tell someone and they say, oh, what can I do, how can I help? Well, then you're thinking about a different pattern. You're thinking about
yeah,
a different way than, oh, I'm such a failure, I can't even get out of bed in the morning, I'm in so much pain, I just want it to stop. Two completely different thought patterns, but that you can break easily by just saying, can we talk? And if you are watching this and it's, you're in a good place, amazing. But notice in your friends and in your family who might not be doing quite so well. If somebody has started to isolate themselves, now that's obviously a little bit more difficult when we've been through
yeah,
lockdowns and everything now. But if people are isolating themselves or saying no to things, or you haven't spoken to them for a while, please just say hello. Get on the phone, drop them an email, send them a text. And if you get that gut feeling, or however you sense things, that maybe it's the answer, I'm fine, isn't quite right, and don't be afraid to ask again. Or say, if you need anything, just give me a call. Or remind them of something that you used to do together.
mm,
Or encourage them to do something that they used to really enjoy but appear to have stopped doing. So for me, one of the first exercises my coach got me to do was to write down 10 to 12 things that brought me joy. Now, I struggled after about 3 or 4 because I wasn't really in a very joyful place. But when he said, what did you used to do as a child that you don't do anymore? I could fill my list. And at the top of that list was reading. I was a bookworm when I was at school.
me
I,
too.
pretty much read everything in the school library. You know, it happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Reading by torchlight when you're supposed to be in bed.
yeah, exactly. You know, you go to the public library once at least a week to get new books.
Yeah,
Well, when he said to me reading, I was like, do you know what? I've only got that one book in my room. And my bedroom used to have bookshelves on out of the four walls. And that next weekend I went into, because he also challenged me to do that activity or to do 3 of the activities on my list every single day. Now, I encourage people to do one of them once a day or at least once a week. So build up. You don't go from sitting on the couch to running a marathon. So don't think that you're going to change these habits in the same sort of time frame. I went to a bookshop. I walked out with 7 books. And the first day I couldn't even read one page. Just my brain was so out of whack. And then I read a page, and the next day I read 2 pages, and then I read for 5 minutes, then I read a chapter, and I built it up until I got to 30 minutes a day. Now, for me, that's non-negotiable now.
yeah,
No matter what else is going on in my life, my 30 minutes of reading, whether that's 30 minutes at once or 3 lots of 10 minutes, doesn't matter what I'm reading. So sometimes it's a business book, sometimes it's self-help, other times it's romantic literature of people falling in love, because that's just what I need. But if I don't read, I notice that my energy is off. I find it more difficult to make decisions. I don't sleep properly. And I can usually go back and say, oh yeah, I missed my reading yesterday, or I've missed it 2 days in a row. Then my body really feels a bit crazy. So if
yeah.
you've noticed that somebody is, they're just not out of sorts, ask them about something that they used to do that they loved. So if they were a reader, ask them if they've read anything interesting. And it's not about the answer that they give to you. It's about the fact that their subconscious will start thinking about reading.
Perfect. Brilliant, brilliant advice. And again, it's something yourself you can think of as well. What did I used to enjoy doing? Why aren't I doing that now?
And you might have played five-a-side football or played in the Sunday league as a kid. You might not feel that that's what you want to do now, but there are activities that you will have done, whether it was drawing, painting, maybe with a certain place that you would go and visit, maybe with a certain TV show that you watched religiously every single week. It's just finding those things that remind us about what it is that puts a smile on our face.
Yeah. And smiling, is one of those biggest things that can bring you joy. I mean, isn't there, they sort of like have false laughing programs, where you just make yourself laugh, even if it's false laughing, you just feel happier after you've been doing it.
Exactly. And try and get away from our screen time and everything. But actually, our smartphones allow us to carry a mental health toolkit with us, a first aid kit. And so I would get my clients to write that list, because sometimes just reading the list makes you smile. So 10 things that make you happy. And sometimes all you need to do is read the list and think about doing one of them. And that's enough of a break from the stress. The other things that you can do are go and find videos that make you laugh until your side hurts or tears run down your cheeks. You know the ones. We've all got that one comedian who we just cannot stop laughing at. Or, there's a video on mine of a penguin hitting another penguin who falls flat in his face into some icy water. Well, I could watch that for hours and it just makes me giggle every time I see it. So that's on my funny playlist. If I'm having a bad day, or I've had a bad call, or I just need to lighten my mood, it takes 30 seconds to a couple of minutes to watch a video, and it's done. Same with music. Have a playlist of music that calms you down. Have a playlist of music that really ramps the energy up. Make a photo album of images of families and friends, places you want to go and visit, And, pictures that make you happy, pictures of, well, who knows what, because we're all different. But you then carry that with you all the time. Because be honest, we'll all take care of our phones better than we do ourselves.
Yeah, that is so true. We do.
And I'd say if you sort of sat there and go, well, I'm not burning out. I'm not at risk of burning out. I'd say, well, if that little message came up that said you had 20% battery left on your phone, how quickly would you run to find a charging point or a power pack to charge your phone?
Yeah.
That is how quickly you should be reacting to headaches, little niggles, that cold that won't disappear, because those are all the signs that our body and our energy is giving us that something's out of alignment, and it's probably because we're burning out. Now, can't go through everything on a call like this, but we do have a quiz at yourreasontobreathe.com/quiz, which will give you 15 red flags for burning out. And it'll be things you haven't thought of. But if you go through the yes no answers, little things that you can change, and the combination of changing some of these things is enough to actually reset burnout.
Okay. And what I'll do is I'll put the link to that in the comments at the end of the show so that anyone watching this can just click on it and go straight to do that quiz.
Yeah. And it's also good to do it more than once. So when I was at the bottom of my burnout, I probably scored 14 out of 15. And that was because I didn't know there was a number 15. So 14 out of 14, really. Now, if I'm not feeling quite right, I'll run that quiz again. I'll just check the questions. And it's usually enough to go, oh, you know what? I've been really bad at drinking water, at getting my 2 litres a day. I haven't been sleeping properly. I've been really irritable because I'm not looking after making myself a priority. All these things, sometimes we just need a little reminder. So do the quiz more than once. It takes a couple of minutes, but yeah, it'll give you the pointers to what you might need to look at.
Perfect. Yep, I'll definitely put that link in there. And Sue said, amazing story. So grateful you shared it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Suze.
And Nick says, such simple ideas, but have such an impact. Thank you. And they really are just simple ideas that we can use. It doesn't have to be complicated.
No, and our bodies have not really changed by design since we lived in caves and ran away from dinosaurs. But we try and do everything now as if we've got a dinosaur running behind us the whole time. We didn't used to live like that. We might see one once a week, and we'd get a bit stressed until we were safe, and then we'd rest and we'd eat and we'd spend time with family and friends and we'd do our hobbies, and all the clues are there. Only we don't have to go and live in a cave. There we go. Unless that's your thing and that makes you happy, then please find your cave and go and do that.
Yes.
Just check that there's nothing else living in the cave.
Because that could be a little bit scary. that could really give you some stress.
Yeah, running with your rolly case down the hill.
Yeah. Spiders. So, as you know, I do guided meditations, angel oracle card readings, and each week I always like to ask my guests whether they would like me to pull an angel oracle card or do a mini guided meditations for themselves and those watching. So, Sarah, what would you like me to do?
I would like you to pull a card.
Funny enough, I have them in my hand.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay, so as always, when I do the cards for what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time, because everything we do, we should be doing in the present. So I work with the past. When I take people into the past, it's to heal and learn from the past, so they can get rid of that and they can be fully present in the here and now. I want to take people into the future. It's so they can understand and know their future, so that when they come back, they're fully present and living in the here and now. So, what does Sarah and everyone? Oh, we won't do that because I just chucked a whole load on the car. So I don't think that was that. I think that was just saying. Actually, I'm just going to shuffle these ones that all jumped out because I think we're probably going to get one of those. So, what does Sarah? Oh, okay. So we've got two that really do want to come out. So we've got Desert Passage, Trust There Is a Divine Plan, and Vast Vistas, Expand Your Horizons,
There you go.
which are absolutely are perfect cards for what we've actually been talking about, and what they are saying. Trust that everything is working for a reason. Things fall into place. They are falling into place for you at this moment in time. So be open to them. Notice them. Be aware of them, because they're going to help you expand your horizons. There's so much out there that you need to be doing that is waiting for you, and they're saying, you know, do it now, go and expand those horizons, see what new things you can actually bring into your life when you go out and you explore those vistas in the distance. So, and that's for you, Sarah, and for everyone watching. And that, trust the divine plan and keep your eyes and ears open. Look out for those numbers, those synchronicities, because they're guiding you to somewhere for you to expand your horizons, your awareness, to bring in lots of new stuff that's going to be very interesting and beneficial to you. So
Excellent.
I look forward to hearing what that's going to be.
No, it's me too.
So, Sarah, do you have any insights or thoughts to leave our viewers?
I think for anyone who's watching who's felt that this is them, has resonated with this, then please, like we said, reach out to somebody. For anyone who's on a bit of a journey, I mean, we've all been challenged in ways that we never expected over the last couple of years. And there's lots of things in flux. And so I like to tell my clients to just trust your journey. I had no idea why anything was happening to me in the way that it did. But when you look back at it now, everything was taking me to the right places, to meet the right people. Yeah, that passage was there. But don't forget to breathe. Take time to just stop, take a deep breath, and actually just remember to be here, to be now. And we're always worried about, we're anxious about what's happening in the future, we're worried about the past, but actually we don't spend enough time here now. So breathe, put your feet on the floor, ground, and just smile, and go and watch a video. I'm going to go and watch a penguin video. I do love my penguin video.
Yeah, what's my go-to? My go-to is a Mischief Theatre Company.
Okay.
Like Peter Pan goes wrong, the play goes wrong.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love a good bit of slapstick.
Yes.
That can have me rolling in the aisles forever. Yes,
Forever.
forever. I get my teeth fixed. So I hope everyone that you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have, and definitely learned some brilliant tips there. So Sarah, if people want to connect with you, how do they do that?
Well, as we mentioned, the quiz, yourreasontobreathe.com/quiz. Link will be in the show notes. You can also find me on Facebook. We have a Facebook page called Your Reason to Breathe. And so more tips and ideas on there on how to be burnout free, how to deal with stress, how to, get through the challenges that we have at the moment into whatever will be our normal going forward. And yeah, through those, you can also connect with me on the website, Your Reason to Breathe, through social media, through the links that are there, if you'd like to actually, talk through what it is that you are struggling with.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. And everyone, if you have reached that crossroads in your life and you need some guidance in finding the meaning of your life and getting clear on your path, then I would love to be that guide for you. So please feel free to reach out and connect with me, and we can arrange a free 20 to 30-minute video call to help you gain clarity on where you're going and how you can empower yourself to take charge of your destiny. And please feel free to join my weekly newsletter and receive a free Future Life Progression recording where I take you into a future lifetime to get guidance and clarity that you can use in your current life, as well as a couple of other free gifts. So, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to those that joined in with the conversation. You really do make the show when you join in and give myself and my guests something to talk about. So, thank you for that. And of course, if you want to, I would like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more women who feel lost and want to get clear on their reason for being here, their destiny, just like you. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified when the show goes live, or I post new guided meditations. And if you've not watched this on YouTube or on Facebook, still go over to YouTube. Click that subscribe button. Every subscribe helps me out. That's all I'm going to say. And you get notified of lots of things. Again, thank you so much, Sarah, for bringing your wisdom and your journey. It was an amazing story. So thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And I will see you all same time, same place next week. Take care. Bye.